Have you ever pushed away someone who helped build your life just because they became a little slower? Most people don't realize the value of loyalty until the day it disappears forever. In a quiet village, there once lived an old gray donkey who had spent his entire life on one small farm. When the farmer was young, poor, and struggling to survive, this donkey carried heavy stones to build the house, pulled endless loads of wood to make fences, and walked long, dusty roads carrying grain to the market. Season after season, year after year, the farm slowly grew stronger, and behind that success was one silent worker who never complained and never stopped showing up. No one applauded him, no one celebrated him, but every sunrise he stood ready to work again. Time passed, the farmer became successful, the farm became bigger, but the donkey became older. His steps were no longer fast, his breathing became heavier after long tasks, and sometimes after finishing his work, he would quietly stand near the barn to rest. He was not avoiding work, he was simply tired from a lifetime of service, but from a distance rest can easily look like laziness. Slowly, the farmer's mind began to change. At first, it was just a small thought. Then it became a quiet calculation. I feed him every day, yet he works less than before. What the farmer forgot was something humans often ignore. For many years, the donkey had given far more effort than he had ever received in return. People often judge the present moment and forget the past sacrifices that built their success. One afternoon, while carrying a sack of grain across the field, the donkey stepped on loose soil and slipped slightly. The sack rolled down the path, but nothing broke and nothing was damaged. Yet the farmer's frustration exploded. In front of the workers, he shouted loudly. The old donkey walked slowly along the dusty road, each step heavier than the last, not just because of age, but because of confusion. After giving his entire life to one place, he suddenly had nowhere to belong. As the sun began to set, he stopped near another farm hoping someone might allow him to work there. But the farmers inspected him carefully and whispered among themselves, "He's old. Why would his owner let him go? If he was truly valuable, he would still be there." And just like that, they turned him away. The truth is, when someone is dismissed, their reputation often follows the dismissal, and people rarely ask the real story behind it. The donkey was not rejected because he was bad. He was rejected because he was unwanted, and those two things are very different. Meanwhile, back at the original farm, the farmer quickly replaced him with a young, powerful bull. The bull had strong shoulders, a thick neck, and sharp, confident eyes. When people watched him work, he looked impressive. He pulled heavy loads quickly and moved with force and energy whenever the farmer stood nearby. The farmer felt proud of his decision. Now this is real productivity, he thought. For a while, everything looked perfect, but slowly, small problems began appearing. Tiny patches of crops were damaged. Grain storage seemed to decrease faster than expected, and the farm's feed supply started disappearing more quickly than before. At first, the farmer ignored these small signs, but months later, when he sat down to check his accounts, something felt wrong. The numbers didn't match. The bull worked faster and stronger than the donkey ever had, so logically the farm should have been producing more profit, not less. But the opposite was happening. That question began to sit heavily in the farmer's mind and refused to leave. One evening, that night, the farmer sat alone in silence, feeling something heavier than anger growing inside his chest, regret. The truth had become painfully clear. The old donkey used to rest openly after finishing his work, while the bull rested secretly while pretending to work. The donkey's weakness was visible, but the bull's dishonesty was hidden. And suddenly, the farmer understood the real difference between the two. One had been loyal but aging, the other was strong but calculating. And he had chosen strength over character. The next morning, the bull was removed from the farm, but removing the bull did not repair the past. The farmer could not stop thinking about the donkey who had carried the farm through its hardest years, so he began searching for him. He asked travelers passing through dusty roads. He visited nearby farms and villages, and he kept walking further than he ever had before. Days passed, and hope slowly started fading, until finally an old shepherd quietly spoke and said, "A gray donkey? Yes, I remember him. He collapsed near the dry fields a few weeks ago. He was too weak. He didn't survive. In that moment, the farmer felt a deep silence fill his chest. No anger, no excuses, only truth. He had sent away loyalty, and loyalty had no strength left to survive alone. The farmer walked to the empty field where the donkey had fallen and stood there for a long time, realizing something painfully important. Not everyone who rests